And you could say the same thing for Joel Embiid.
Yes.
And I know that was the storyline over the last 24 hours with that fantastic article. Complicated people have complicated lives, and you can't just fit them in like your little
box
square peg.
Yeah. And the clothes horse Kevin Negandhi joins us. That was a discussion. That was it. By the way, okay. Did Monica pick that outfit for you for the red carpet at the ESPYs?
You look sharp.
Because that was, I got to tell you, that is as sharp as I've ever seen you look.
Well, first off, I appreciate that, and I will take that compliment 100% towards my taste in fashion.
Are you kidding me? That was all you?
All me. I really like I like dressing up. I like looking at things. And Monica, my wife, basically gave up about 10 years ago. She's come to the point where she's like, I'm not going to say anything anymore. I won't tell you what to do. She's like, I'll give you hints on what I like and don't like. She's like, but you have figured it out. You know what you're doing. So what Monica will do is give me like, hey, take this risk. This is a good idea. So perfect example, we were in Italy in March. We were at a store. I had to go in. I had to go look at a whole bunch of things. And at one point she's like, you need to buy this. It was like a certain type of green suit. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, you need to buy that. And I said, I'm not sure. And I tried it on. I was like, all right, I'm going to buy it. And then, I wore it a couple months ago, and I said, that was a great idea. So that's kind of how we are with fashion tastes. And she'll be like, you should do this. But she also, lays back. And when I put that outfit on before I went to L.A. last week, she was like, all right, number one, you shouldn't be going dateless. Number two, why am I not in L.A. with you? And I was like, so you like the outfit? She's like, absolutely. And she called me Andy Garcia, which she had to do.
That's awesome. Well,
it was a win.
You look good the other night, Kevin. You did a great job. Now, you bring up the Embiid article when you first come on. Fascinating. Our afternoon show, Unfiltered, with Bill Colarulo and Ricky Vitalico. Andrew Zacchecka was filling in for Ricky yesterday. Ran a poll on Twitter. Simple question. Based on the recent ESPN article, do you have more empathy for Joel Embiid? Do you know that only 53% of people said yes?
Wow.
I understand that there is Joel Embiid fatigue at this point. I totally get it, but I was shocked how close it was. Your thoughts on that?
You know what this is? This is nothing to do with Joel Embiid. I think this is the Philadelphia relationship with our superstars. Think about where we were on the back end of Allen Iverson's career in Philadelphia, not when he went to the Nuggets, but there was fatigue, right? But you can even go back. This is not like one generation. You can go back Donovan McNabb, where everybody was. Think about where everybody was with Mike Schmidt. The dude had to wear a wig because of his relationship with fans coming out to third base. There's a certain sense of expectation, disappointment, and when certain things are not met with our superstars, you hit a wall. And I do not think it has anything to do with Joel Embiid personally. I just think it's the relationship that sometimes us in Philadelphia have with these superstars and what we actually want, what we actually expect, and what we actually see with results.
Did you think
whether it's fair or not, completely a different story. Now you can add context, I think, individually with Joel and the history of the injuries and where we're at. But when you read that article, I don't think, and I heard John comment yesterday. We don't need to rehash him. If you want, we can. I do not think it was a PR puff piece. I do not think so. I think it was some details, and it was really a well-done 10,000-word piece on understanding how complex this whole thing is. And there's not one person to blame. There's a lot of things that have failed in this entire, excuse the pun, process. And we're at this point now where frustration is long settled in now, and we don't want to give anybody the benefit of the doubt of the situation because we don't want to get burned as fans anymore.
Well, it's one thing is that when the clip that you saw didn't bring in the fact is I feel great compassion over his brother. I feel great compassion over him getting knocked in the face and breaking his face and coming back and playing. I think anybody who questions his toughness is a fool. I have Joel Embiid's back on a lot of things. But one thing I didn't hear a lot of is accountability on his part in the piece. He brings up, they're still talking about all that stuff. They're still bringing up all that old stuff. And also, too, Kevin, the idea to me is that if it was, he goes on at great length about how he was this warrior to play in the Knicks series, but then he goes and plays in the Olympics when the Sixers did not want him playing in the Knicks series, in the Olympics. And then says that the Sixers somehow mishandled him health-wise last year. No, they didn't. His last summer should have been rest, rehab, and getting ready for the season instead of being in the Olympics. So there was no personal accountability about what he did to last year's Sixers season, and I took offense to that.
Oh, gotcha. So specifically how the approach was from right after the Knicks series and how he handled everything.
Yeah, that was more of that, yes.
I think, and that's classic. You know, John, it's the freaking media. That's classic. They clipped you and did not give you any context.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Or any nuance.
Yeah, and it was our internal station media, but it was good though. It got a lot of traction.
It got a lot of traction.
Yeah. Here's the thing: accountability plays a huge role on both sides. And when one side, basically, they have a variety of different people, and those people have been fired or long since gone, it's hard to basically rehash and say it's that person's fault because that person's no longer there. The one consistent constant is Joel Embiid on the other side, right? I think the biggest failure that the Sixers had, which I was blown away in the article, was, in his original injury, they had an intern, and you're like, what? I think the biggest failure in Joel Embiid's entire time in Philadelphia was in the beginning, while they went through the process, and everybody's like, hey, Sam Hinkie, yeah, this is the great thing. They never had a veteran around Joel to say, this is how you do it. This is how we see things. This is what we believe. So you build a foundation. Perfect example is if you bring up Charles Barkley through the years, Charles will always credit Moses Malone for basically saying, you're fat. And you're not going to be a great player if you're going to be at that weight. And there was no accountability, I think.
Yeah, they tried. Remember, they tried with Carl Landry, who's like, NBA vet, but didn't work. And Elton Brand, second time around when he wasn't barely moving anymore. So, to your point, they never brought in some sort of veteran where Joel could really sort of lean on.
And there was a lot of coddling. I think there was a lot of coddling with stars. You saw the coddling with Ben Simmons. There was a lot of, hey, we made a mistake. We didn't realize it. And again, I know how this is coming across, that I am basically sticking up for Joel Embiid. What I'm saying is I'm understanding the context and the nuance throughout the whole process. To your point, John, okay, last summer, where was the communication? What we got out of that article, most importantly, is where is the trust? I don't see any trust. And then you saw the quote there about not trusting somebody that's on the team still potentially that leaked out the meeting. There's still no established trust, and you're paying this guy as your franchise face, and no one's trusting anybody in the building. That's what concerns me more than anything else moving forward. You could talk about all the misgivings and the unfortunate mistakes throughout the process over the last 10 years. But we are in the now, and are we better off right now or not? Because does anybody trust anybody right now? And I don't know if anybody does moving forward, and that's my biggest concern. And that's why sometimes when I talk to you guys, and I always say, protect Tyrese Maxey. For me, it's the groundwork for the next 5 years of Tyrese Maxey being here, wanting to be happy, making sure you're doing everything right and you're communicating with him and he's being held accountable. Is Joel Embiid going to be comfortable here the next 3 to 4 years, hopefully, and can everybody trust everybody in this whole process? I just don't know if it didn't feel like any of that was resolved, and I don't know if we're going to have any resolution down the road in the next year or two.
Well, hopefully he's at least playing in October, and we don't have to hear the term ramp up anymore.
Yeah.
Kevin,
Thanks,
listen,
Kev.
man, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week as we get closer to the MLB trade deadline. So a lot of fun Philly stuff we'll talk about next week. Thank you as always, Kevin.